Hello, Lord Nigel of Brit and Hamptonshire here, just taking some time off from my busy schedule, playing cricket with the Queen and eating fish and chips with my bad teeth while being shit in bed. And I thought I'd continue with my series on the most eccentric Trump allies. Eccentric. I'm not calling them crazy anymore because eccentric sounds more legally defensible. This will be Volume 3. Volume 3 in a series where the first volume lasted 2 minutes. So the volumes are not big. On the other hand, 2 minutes is longer than we Brits usually last in bed. That's self-deprecation there. I will now be talking about Lady Lauren Boebert III, Duchess of Wendyburger, third in line to the throne. Contrary to American ideas about Britain, we do actually have types like Boebert here, in my country. They just have different accents, and they're depressing instead of entertaining. If Lauren Boebert had an accent like this, and shouted about everything like this, and shouted in Congress about, yeah, tarts, you fucking Republican tarts, you fucking Democrat tarts, I wouldn't be making a video on her because she'd just be depressing. She'd just be really depressing. These people are depressing when they come from your country. It's the reason I can do videos on American politicians who, I guess American people find profoundly depressing, profoundly upsetting. But I can do videos on them because it's not my country, you know. I can just observe from afar. Even though it's awful, it is more entertaining than it is awful. Whereas if it was happening in my country, if I was an American person, I really wouldn't want to think about any of these people that much. So I apologize about that I'm getting so much entertainment from watching the dumpster fire, the apocalyptic dumpster fire from across the ocean that's going on in your country. So I wouldn't be doing a video on this woman if she was British, English. Absolutely not. But having said that, she is easily the least loathsome of the three I've covered so far. Comfortably, easily, by far. Just bear in mind the early life she put up with. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. Boebert was born in Altamonte Springs, Florida, to Shauna Roberts Bentz, who was 18 at the time of Boebert's birth. The identity of her father is not known. Professional wrestler Stan Lane was suspected of being Boebert's father, but 2 DNA tests ruled that out. Not just one, they had 2. At the age of 4, Bentz took Boebert from Florida to Colorado to stay with her boyfriend, only to move back to Florida with a different boyfriend, and then finally return to Colorado with the Colorado man who became her stepfather. When she was 12, Boebert and her family moved to the Montbello neighborhood of Denver and later to Aurora, Colorado, before settling in Rifle, Colorado in 2003. Boebert dropped out of high school during her senior year when she had a baby. That is not a stable, settled childhood, the kind of early life that would lead to happiness and psychological stability. One of the quotes I read from her was, "My mother inspired me to be a mother when I was 18 years old." Which is nice, but couldn't she have inspired you to be a mother a bit later on? "She inspired me to drop out of school and have a baby" is an interesting, and I would say typically American way of positively framing something that could be considered a bit of a disaster. "I was inspired to" sounds a lot better than "the nearest pharmacist was 10 minutes walk, so we both thought we'd risk it." I mean, that's such an American way of rephrasing something that was... Actually, the Republicans themselves have done a good job of stigmatizing, which is having a kid early on and being a single mother. Right? They made that into a stigmatized position. They've made that into something you should be ashamed of. And yet Boebert has managed to talk about it as something she was inspired to do by her mum, which is something to be said for kind of reclaiming the narrative there and spinning it yourself. I think that's something that's something I try to do myself when things are falling away from me in terms of having control of the narrative. You try and do that yourself. You try and rephrase things in a positive way. But it's a very American thing, I think, to talk about being inspired. I'm inspired to do such a thing. And it's quite a Boebert-y thing to say, "My mother inspired me to have a baby when I was 18 and drop out of high school." I imagine Boebert was inspired to have a baby by her mother, and her mother inspired Boebert's mother to have a baby, who inspired her mother to have a baby, who inspired her mother to have a baby, all the way back to the very first creature that ever had a baby, the early protoplasmic globule known as Reproductus boebertus, which spread across the face of the earth in the Cambrian era after out-reproducing its less slutty competitors. Some might make cheap jokes about Boebert being promiscuous. That's not me, I'm above that kind of thing. And to be sincere for a few seconds, as I've just said, she is easily the most relatable and human of the three Marga loons I've looked at so far. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a ghastly, awful, empty human being of a monster, of a creep. Matt Gaetz is a disgusting, empty-headed frat boy. But Boebert is more complicated. You heard her early life. She had a tough life. She's going through a messy divorce with an allegedly abusive husband. Her kid has sticky fingers. He likes stealing from old ladies with brain tumours. He doesn't sound like a model son. None of that excuses her political awfulness, her constant lying and vicious bigotry. But if there was ever one Republican Marga lunatic who I might secretly hope would have a redemption arc, it'd be Lauren Boebert. The famous video of her vaping and groping in a theatre while watching Beetlejuice randomly probably harmed her political career. It probably harmed her with Republicans. But the knowledge that she was on a date with a Democrat, like she reached across the aisle, as it were, you could see her reaching across the aisle in the video, and the general messily drunk behaviour from her, I think that helped her with a wider audience. No one's ever seen Marjorie Taylor Greene enjoying herself, except when she visits the terminally ill or abattoirs. But Boebert was at least having a good time. She was having a good time, and she was doing it in a messy, open way. She was obnoxious, and she was vaping, and she ended the evening by sticking two fingers up at people. But, you know, she was living, you know? You don't see that with Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz. They're just kind of Marga robots. That is it for the positives with Boebert, though. She's a hypocrite, a liar, an opportunist, a culture war idiot. She's a bootlicking Trump surrogate, and she's an all-round bad person. So, out of these three terrible people, if I had to be stuck on a desert island with any of them, I would choose Boebert. But that's not high praise, you know? She's still a complete lunatic. She's still a bootlicking craven apologist for a wannabe dictator. So that was Volume 3, Lauren Boebert, the third of, I would say, the three big hitters of the Marga loons. These are three who get themselves in every photo and turn up and drone on about every single culture war point and make it their absolute mission to be the biggest, loudest, noisiest Trump bootlickers they can possibly be. These three are the top of the list. But Boebert, I don't think it's just me. I think Boebert is the least awful of all the three. Not high praise, but, you know, it's something. Yeah. So if there's ever a redemption arc for any of them, I want it to be Lauren Boebert. Okay, if you enjoyed any of that, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I can only do more of these if anybody actually gives a shit. And cheers for putting up with a bloke from jolly old England giving his opinions on America. Much appreciated. See you next time. Bye.